Question number 5 asks us, in each case, to name the pair of similar triangles, then copy and complete the statements. So starting with part A, looking at these triangles here, we can see that the two similar triangles are this one down here and this one up here. And we need to name this in the correct order of vertices so that each vertex lines up with the similar one in the other triangle. So I'm going to start by naming this bottom triangle. I'm just going to call it triangle ABC, and I'm saying it's similar to the other triangle. And now we want to make sure that our vertices line up. So A is going to be the same. It's going to be the first one in the case of the second triangle as well. And then the corresponding vertex to B is going to be P up here because they lie on the same line. So next is going to be P, and then our last one's Q. So we have triangle ABC is similar to triangle APQ. And now we can go on to fill out the blanks in these statements here. So the first statement that we have is PA over BA equals blank over CA. So let's look at what sides they're referring to here. PA is a short one here in the top triangle, and BA is this one here. And we've said that P and B are corresponding vertices. So we know that these sides of the two similar triangles have to be related by some ratio where all the other sides, corresponding sides of the two triangles will be related by that same ratio. So when we're saying that we have CA on the bottom here, that's the big triangle looking at this side here. And we just have to relate that to the corresponding side in the small triangle. So that's going to be QA there. So QA is our answer for the first one. And another trick to do this is if you know you've written your statement for the two triangles in the correct order, then you can just kind of match up the letters in the position they fall. So we can see that P and B here are both the middle letter, and Q and C are both the end letter. And we have on the top, we have both from this triangle, both sides correspond to this triangle, and on the bottom, both sides correspond to the bigger triangle. So we can be confident that we match that up correctly. And so moving on to the next statement, we're going to just do the same thing. In this case, we have QP over CB equals QA over blank. So in this case, we've said this longest side of the triangle over this longest side of the big triangle is equal to QA here, and we know that the corresponding side for that is this CA in the big triangle. And so for the last statement, we have QP over PA equals, and we've given nothing on the right side of that equation. So let's look at what they're asking us here. It's this longest side in the small triangle over this side in the small triangle. So if we want to match this up with the bigger triangle, we want the longest side in the big triangle too, which is going to be CB on the top to match up with QP. And on the bottom, we want the corresponding side to PA, which is going to be BA. So those are the answers for part A. In part B, I'm going to do that over here. We're going to do a similar thing. Let's first name our similar triangles. In this case, we have triangle XLM is similar to triangle XZY. And so in that order, those vertices correspond to each other. And so now we can fill out which sides correspond to each other to make these ratios true. We've got a lot of them here, so starting with the first one, we have XL over XZ equals XM over blank. So in this case, we have this side of the triangle over this side of the big triangle equals this side of the small triangle. So of course, we're going to do the same side of the big triangle. So that's XY on the bottom. Next one, we have YX over MX equals YZ. Oops, sorry. I'm reading my answer off before I get to it. So we actually don't know what's on the top. We have ML on the bottom. So in this case, we're doing YX, the big side of this triangle, over MX, small side of that small triangle. And on the bottom here, we have ML. So again, the small triangle, we want the corresponding side in the large triangle, which is going to be YZ. On the top. Our next ratio, we have XM over XL equals blank over XZ. XM is this side of the small triangle, XL is this side of the small triangle. And similar to that one, we have XZ on the bottom, so we want corresponding side to XM on the top, which is going to be XY. All right, next one we have is XY over XZ equals XM over blank. So XY is the side on the big triangle, XZ is the side on the big triangle, XM corresponds to XY in the small triangle, and we want XL to correspond to XZ. So XL is on the bottom there. All right, now we have ZX over LX equals blank over MX. So ZX is this side of the big triangle, LX is this corresponding side in the small triangle. So MX is, again, the smaller triangle on the bottom, so we want the corresponding side in the big triangle, which is going to be YX. Okay, last one, we have ML over YZ equals XL over blank. All right, so ML is this parallel side in the small triangle, and YZ is the corresponding side in the big triangle. XL is a small triangle, so we want the corresponding side in the big triangle, which is XZ. All right, so that answers part B as well. So the important point to take from these is that you have to keep your corresponding sides straight in your head, so you know that these ratios will work out if you just match up big triangles to big triangle and small triangle to small triangle, and the corresponding sides of each big and small triangle to each other. All right, so that's the answer to question 5.